Hi, I'm Michelle Fox, and I help mature women understand the changing needs of their skin and make adjustments to their makeup so they can look and feel their beautiful best. I also like to address the concerns of those of us 40 and above. And today I'm talking about something that doesn't really fall under the beauty category. I want to talk about something that I've been dealing with for several years, and I know all of you to some degree are experiencing this or will experience it most likely, and that is joint pain. You know, what's frustrating for me is that you reach an age and anything that is wrong with you, people just say, "Yeah, you know, that happens as you get older." And it's like the things that you're struggling with seem to be taken less seriously because it's expected as you get older. And one of those things is joint pain. I struggled with it so much so that I ended up quitting a job that I really, really enjoyed. I wasn't able to function in that role. And I still thought that that was just the way it is. I reached over 50 and I guess that's it. I'm done. And it wasn't until my mom actually said, "You know what? For the way you're describing what you feel, that is not normal. That's not a normal amount of pain for someone your age." And that finally made me feel like, all right, then I want to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to pursue this until somebody takes me seriously. And so we went beyond my general doctor and did some tests. So tests that can be done, there is a blood test for rheumatoid arthritis. You can have x-rays to see if it's osteoarthritis. There is a lab test for EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. What I ended up having, there is no lab test for. It has to be diagnosed by someone who's very familiar with it. And sadly, very, very few people are familiar with it. Many people have heard of it and therefore they think they understand it, but you really need to be with someone who has worked with it and gets it. But that's a whole other thing. So, what I want to encourage is that if you are experiencing joint pain on any level, it does benefit you to figure out why. Where is it coming from? What's the source? Even though we're old, you know, you could be experiencing joint pain for the first time in your late 70s, but still, it helps to know, well, is it osteoarthritis or did I sprain something? Because how you handle it is different and pain matters. Pain is significant. Just because we're getting older doesn't mean that that pain is like, oh, well, too bad, so sad. If you were younger, we'd worry about you. You know, that's ridiculous. So I have learned how to cope with joint pain, and that's what this is about. I have got all kinds of tricks up my sleeve that I'm going to share with you. But before we go there, I want to explain a couple of things, you know, medically. First of all, I'm not in the medical profession. This is not a diagnosis, and I don't want to plant a seed that you have a condition at all. I want to let you know that if you feel something isn't right and you've let it go because you've heard over and over, well, you're 45 now, you know, that's to be expected. But in your heart of hearts, you feel like, but I don't think this is right, or this just doesn't feel normal. Or even if, yeah, you're right, it is because I'm 53, but how do I cope with it? I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to be sore all day long. I don't want to make a noise when I get out of the chair. I mean, I would say to people, I work out, but I hurt before I work out, I hurt during the workout, and I hurt after the workout. So I don't really know if I'm making progress or not. And that matters. Okay. So I just encourage you to get to the bottom of it. So, like I said, I'm not an expert. Let's pull this up a little higher, maybe. But some causes of joint pain, I think we all know osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis are the first things that are thrown out there. Gout, that's such an ugly word. Bursitis, viral infections, injuries, tendonitis. Okay. There is no mention there of what causes my joint pain. Okay. So that's problem number one, is that not only do very few people know about it or know how to handle it, they don't think of it. Okay. It's sort of like we call ourselves zebras because if it looks like a horse and it acts like a horse, it must be a horse. So they diagnose us with, well, it looks like and acts like arthritis, so it must be arthritis, but we're not a horse. We're zebras. We have something totally different. So here's a long, long list from the Mayo Clinic, and it still doesn't include what I have. Like, blow my ever loving mind. So here's the dealio. I have hypermobility syndrome disorder, and I'm just going to show you because more people have it than people realize. And it's you are very, very flexible. You're very bendy. Okay. And as a child, it might have seemed kind of funny, or you might have been called double jointed, or you might have done tricks for your family. But sometimes as an adult, it can cause problems. Okay. So there is an actual scale, like you can give yourself numbers on a scale to determine if you have this or not. So the first test is to put your entire forearm flat on a surface and lift up your pinky. And if you can lift it to 90 degrees or beyond, you give yourself 1 point for each pinky that you can do that with. I can do that on both hands. With your thumbs, if your arm is straight out, let's see, palm facing down, and you can touch your thumb, you can like grab your thumb and touch it to your wrist, that gets you a point for each thumb. I cannot do that one. So you don't have to do them all. The elbows, if you straighten your elbow, you kind of need an assistant for this one. But looking like, imagine if you can see the bone from your shoulder to your elbow to your wrist. If it is bent more than 10 degrees, so instead of being straight across, it's like coming down more than 10 degrees, that is considered hyperextended. So in other words, her hand is straight up. So holding her arm straight, it should just be flat. It should be like a 90-degree angle. But instead, it's beyond, it's like 10 degrees beyond 90 degrees. She is hyperextending that elbow. That is 1 point for each elbow. Knees, same thing. And I've always looked at my knees and thought, why do I stand like that? But when I stand, if you did an arrow like this from my ankle bone to my knee to my hip bone, it does kind of this zigzag, just like that. Instead of being a nice straight line, it's like my knee is backward. It's pushing backward, and 1 point each for, if your knees do that. And then this one, this is so hilarious to me. I always thought everybody could do this. When I heard this was like a thing, I'm like, well, that's dumb. Like everybody can do that. And apparently everybody cannot do this. But if you can like bend forward and put your hands flat on the floor in front of you, then that is a point. So, and then, so how many points do you have to have? Let me see. Having a score of 4 or more indicates that you are hypermobile. Now, before anybody panics, being hypermobile is not necessarily a bad thing. And being hypermobile does not equate hypermobility syndrome disorder. Okay. So hypermobile just means that you are very bendy. So let's see. I wanted to show just to kind of further that thought. So there's different types of hypermobility syndrome. Let's see. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is probably most well known. Okay, so here's something else. So there's no such thing as like a positive lab test. So according to a specialist and according to myself, I believe that I have hypermobility spectrum disorder. So if you think you have it, don't panic. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It helped me to know that I have it because it answered a lot of questions for me. So let me take this off the screen and then we're going to start talking about remedies. before I tell you all my secret remedies, I want to explain how hypermobility has affected me, because in case there's someone out there that I'm speaking to that can relate to this. So imagine this. Imagine that where all of your joints are, there are little muscles supporting the larger muscles. So, for example, like where my thigh meets my hip, there are that, large thigh muscle or whatever the heck it's called. And then there are tiny muscles in the joint area that, like, if I were to slip or something, those tiny muscles like snap into action and help hold me up. So there are big muscles that are working pretty much all the time as you're active. You've got little muscles that are like at the ready at all times. And then your joint has different properties that is keeping it, mobile but stable. For me, my joint is really loose. It's very, very slidey. Okay. And so all the little muscles that should be on alert are basically like constantly trying to help help it stay in place. So when I slip, there's nobody to help hold me up. There's nothing left. Okay. So how it has impacted me is that I am terrible on the ice. I'm terrified of any kind of smooth, slick surface. I cannot do any sport that has anything on my feet, and I can't skateboard or anything like that, but skiing, skating, roller skating, any of that stuff. And it was beyond not being able to do it. It terrified me. And it's just bizarre. So, yeah. So anyway, so as I get tired throughout the day, it's like my muscles like literally cannot hold me up. And so posture has always been a problem. And I always thought it was because of, this. I'm sure that's part of it. But it just, as anything that is pulling on me, and since my joint just doesn't have any oomph to like hold anything in place, it's always just being basically pulled out of joint. It's always being moved around, pushed and pulled out hither and yon. So it has always been a problem. I know I have it because things that I've always done that people have commented on, just the way that I position my feet and the way that I sit on the floor and things like that. And then another interesting thing is, because it's easy for me to flex, I gravitate toward things that I can do, like yoga and stretching, because it's really easy for me. But if you are in a yoga class with someone who doesn't know anything about hypermobility, which most people don't, there are poses that can be very dangerous for me, because imagine, I'm in some kind of very complex pose on one leg or something, and think of all the stress that's putting on the joints that are trying to stabilize my body. So it's interesting. It really is. But now that I know that, I am researching, well, what kind of yoga can I do? Because I just am not willing to give it up entirely. So it has helped me to understand it. So I want to show you a couple of books too. Look up books for it. There are hardly any. It's sad. It's really, really sad. But I finally found this one, Unlocking the Secrets to the Hypermobility Puzzle. And there's our little zebra, our zebra symbol or whatever it's called. And this one, I thought, because of the goofy cover, I wasn't really expecting much, but it's really nice. It's like a textbook, and it's too flexible to feel good. And this has really been a godsend. It really takes you through and just kind of shows you the right way and the wrong way to do things, and explains so much about why certain things have always been a struggle for me, and why it has hurt, and why it has done damage, and why I keep re-injuring the same thing. So anyway, whatever. Okay. I know that not everyone wants to medicate. I've never had a problem with it. Okay. So some things that I have done, if you're not opposed to taking supplements, magnesium is key. And if you have a hard time taking large pills, there are magnesium gummies. And there's also magnesium powder that you can put in a hot drink. So I put the magnesium powder in first, put my coffee in, stir that up really, 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 really well because I don't want to see that or taste it, and then put in my creamer. So there are ways. So there's lots of magnesium options. Okay. And Epsom salt is magnesium soaking in through your body. This is actually a magnesium foam. It's TheraWorks Relief. And it's the most bizarre thing. It has a little bit of an unusual smell. It's not horrible, almost metallic, and you just put it on, and I don't understand how that kind of stuff works at all, but it's the same idea. You're absorbing magnesium through your skin as if you were soaking in an Epsom bath. So this was recommended to me by the person who diagnosed me, and it has really been important to me. Prior to that, I had used BIOFREEZE, which if you've ever been in physical therapy, this is a popular thing. Tylenol is a common recommendation for people that have arthritis in a pinch. If I can't sleep or something, I'll take that, but that's just not something that I want to necessarily take every day. The person that I'm seeing right now for medical massage, oh, I got to tell you about that. She's hooking me up with something that is an herbal supplement that will do something similar to what Tylenol, the type of analgesic that Tylenol is. So I have been in physical therapy. I do think it helped to a degree. It helped stabilize my core, but a lot of my issue, because everything is slidey and is that I will get just so much muscle tension in my body. That's another thing people have always told me. Anytime that I got a massage my whole life, they would be like, you are like, so tense. You're so tense. Loosen this up. And like, I couldn't because like I am accustomed, to me, that is normal, being in a constant state of this to try to hold everything in place. And again, when I realized that was the problem, I'm like, oh, that's why I can't ever make my butt relax. So anyway, where was I going with that? So physical therapy helped to a degree, but I had like terrible muscle strain and pain. And I was at a point where I could not turn my head at all because my neck was just a disaster. And I went to a therapeutic massage. So I think sports massage is similar or possibly exactly the same. I don't know. Totally different than the kind of massage that you're thinking of. It's to help your body get back into alignment and get everything where it's supposed to be, functioning how it's supposed to be. It has changed my life. Early on, I think I was going at least twice a week, every week, until we got through it. And now I still go once a month, and it's worth every penny. Okay. So moving on, here are some of my stuff from Christmas. This is such a hoot. It is a hand massager. Now, I know not everybody necessarily has the joint pain in their hands, but that's like one of my big ones. And this thing is nuts. Like you put your hand in here, and it's like a blood pressure cuff that blows up. And so it's putting pressure, in different areas of your hand, and it heats up and it pulses. And there are different settings, so different intensities, and you can decide if you want it to concentrate on your wrist or your fingers or your entire hand and so forth. And it is really intense. Like I thought for sure that I would need to put it on the highest numbers because my hands are a mess. But I have to keep it really low because it's too much. It's too strong. Can't handle it. But it feels really good. It definitely is like it's just massaging and kind of helping to loosen. Okay, so here's another thing. So my fingers are crazy. You can see this guy. But like I can't straighten it. Like it's kind of stuck in that weird position. So sometimes I need a little bit of loosening. So that's just kind of a paradox, that I'm loose everywhere, but then I've got a couple of joints that are stuck in a weird position. So heat will help that kind of, loosen up a little bit. whatever, I don't know. And then that came with this thing, which is a hand warmer. And I thought, my hands are never cold, but I get it now. It's like, again, so when my hands are stiff, and I'm sure anyone with arthritis can relate to stiff hands, this little number, it heats up. I mean, it charges, so it holds a charge. You don't have to put batteries in it. And then when you turn it on, you can decide how intense you want it to be, but it heats up fast and it gets really hot. And so just by holding it, just gripping it, it like helps relieve the pain in my entire hand and fingers. So if you have that issue, this is a really interesting thought. It's a hand warmer. The brand of this is Lunix, Lunix, and I will have that in a kit. There'll be a link in the description of the video. You can click on that and it takes you to a kit that I've put together of all of these products, okay? Another thing that I got actually a while back, I'll put that on the screen. My husband thought of this. He was trying to figure out what he could do to help. So my husband got me a paraffin bath. So usually you think of using this to keep your hands moisturized and youthful, and it just feels amazing. But this is fantastic for pain relief of hands, wrist. You dip your hand in there a few times. You can put a plastic bag and then put an oven mitt over that so that it stays warm even longer. And it's just a lovely way to kind of loosen up any stiffness, because that does happen. Isn't that ironic? But it does. So that feels great too. So I realize that most of my examples have to do with hands, but that's my biggest thing. So then I have like these gloves, which they're very lightweight, and I think my husband got me these too. And at first I thought, I can't imagine that they really are going to do anything. They are compression gloves, and they really do help. I struggle to understand how it really works exactly, but similar to the blood pressure cuff thing, uh, for whatever reason, just kind of putting a little bit of pressure just reduces the pain, and over time it reduces the swelling. So any of you medical professional people that can explain that, please feel free. But I know that it reduces the swelling because when I first put them on and they're really snug, and then as the day goes on, it's not so much that they're stretching, and I'll tell you why, but my hands will start shrinking because they'll start getting looser, and eventually I'll take them off. And I know that these aren't stretching because then the next time I put them on, they feel tight again. So it's more my hands are changing size than the gloves. So recently I advanced to ungodly pain all the way up to my shoulder. So I got these little babies. And this, I feel like Morticia on Addams Family, and I wasn't sure if they were going to work. And these have copper in them as well. So these are compression. I think they call them compression gloves. They do have copper in them, and they work like a charm. So if it works, I'm all for it. Okay. I don't have to understand it. I just know that it works. And so I'm telling you, it does. Oh, let's see if I have any other recommendations over here. I think that's all that I had for my props. But I know that I've heard that hot tubs and that kind of thing are great. I just did what is the new sauna? It's the red therapy, I think it's called, right? There's like a red light up top, and you're in this really, really hot sauna, and there's a trampoline that you can, if you want to, you can actually like be bouncing around in there to like burn off extra calories. But I did that, and I could feel everything just kind of again, kind of loosen, but in a good way. And my fingers got smaller, and everything just felt good. So there are different things, but probably if I had to choose one thing that has changed me, it would be the medical massage. And also because every time I go, I can have a conversation with her this hurts. Why do you think this hurts? Well, it's because this is shifted and therefore it put pressure over here. And, and then she'll tell me what she thinks. Why did that happen? Well, it's probably how you're sitting at your desk. So I'm learning. And that's the thing. I will not be defeated. You can tell me what I have, and all right, I might deny it for a second, but once I wrap my brain around it, then I'm going to understand it. I'm going to learn to cope with it, or I'm going to overcome it. But I'm not going to just sit around and do nothing. So as long as I've learned all of these things, I thought I would share it with you, my friends. I hope that you learned something that is applicable to your situation. If you are feeling anxiety right now, I'm asking you to just throw that away, because that is not the purpose of this. I want to empower you to know that your pain matters, and that if no one has given you an answer that resonates with you as to why you have that pain, keep going, keep researching it, keep looking for somebody that's going to help you understand. If physical therapy hasn't helped you, try medical massage, sports massage, therapeutic massage, and buy these gadgets if you want to. Anyway, so that's my story. And I can't say that I'm better, but I know my limits. You know what I mean? It's like I understand more, like, okay, I know if I do that, this is going to happen. So for example, I know that if I go grocery shopping and I'm on my feet on that hard cement floor, I'm actually there for like a couple hours, come home, put all the groceries away. I absolutely have to sit down for probably a half hour, because if I keep standing, I will have horrible back spasms to where, like, embarrassing, like I will be making guttural noises. So, and same thing, if I weed the garden, I might be able to do it, but the next day my hands will hurt so much I won't be able to turn a doorknob. So I've just had to learn these things. So a few things that I just want to sum up with, that I would encourage you to get a diagnosis. I think that as you see your limitations, really accept them in the sense that it's okay, and you need to give yourself some grace. And I think you need to explain them to your family, and you will need to remind your family. So during the holidays, when everybody is expecting you to be busting a move and doing 10 things at once, that's a really good time to say, this holiday might be different because I just cannot do the things that you've seen me do in the past. Nobody likes having to say that, but sometimes that has to be said. And find products that work for you and keep them on hand all the time. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a comment. If you're in the medical field and I said something way off, feel free to correct me, but don't be mean. I'm a delicate one. So anyway, that is it for this week. And if you are watching on YouTube, please like this video, share it with a friend, throw me a comment, and most of all, subscribe to my channel, Michelle Fox Beauty. And if you are seeing this on Facebook, please follow my business page, Michelle Fox Beauty. Sounds a little bit redundant, doesn't it? And I guess I will see you next week. So thanks for your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day.